Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Most watched newscast, now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted, now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, late developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie. What police are now saying: a dangerous Arctic blast slams the east with some of the coldest temperatures in years, and American skier Lindsey Vohn's Winter Games comes to a heartbreaking end in Italy. First, the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie 1 week after she disappeared. Savannah Guthrie's and her siblings release a somber video on Instagram, speaking directly to the people who sent that last ransom note, pleading for their mother's return.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
The latest from authorities on the investigation is Nancy Guthrie's church prays for her safety. Aaron Katrisky reports from Tucson. The Northeast and Mid-Atlantic in the grip of potentially deadly temperatures. More than 60 million people on alert. An extreme cold warning in New York City, opening more warming centers. How long will this last? Our weather team is standing by. A star NFL linebacker is arrested on domestic abuse charges. The alleged victim, a WNBA player. The battle over funding for ICE, 5 days to go until it runs out. Democrats are standing firm in their demands to unmask agents and end some controversial practices in the wake of the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, as the fallout over President Trump's racist social media post intensifies, with more Republicans calling on the president to apologize. Selena Wang reports from Washington. Federal authorities charge a man with threatening to kill Vice President Vance when he visited his home state of Ohio last month. The harrowing moment, a firefighter battling a house fire falls from a ladder. The video shared on the Citizen app. Super Bowl showdown. The Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots are facing off, and music superstar Bad Bunny gets set to make history. What he's saying about the halftime show, you'll hear from him in his own words. And Rick Johnson reports from the Super Bowl. American heartbreak amid triumph at the Winter Games in Italy. Legendary skier Lindsey Vohn's dreams of the podium and possibly her career end in a terrifying crash. The latest on her condition, while one of her teammates honors her by taking home Team USA's first gold in the same race Vaughn won 16 years ago.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Tonight, race against time. Savannah Guthrie and her siblings this weekend appealing for their mother's return.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
The message in a cryptic video.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her.
New details in the investigation.
I'm Anders Gutierrez in Tucson, Arizona, with new reporting on the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie as a second ransom deadline looms.
Also tonight, Breezy Johnson speeds to Team USA's first gold, while Lindsey Vonn violently crashes out, ending her Olympic comeback dream.
I'm Seth Doan in Cortina. Folks are coming down the mountain having watched the women's downhill skiers and experiencing all of those highs and lows of the Olympics.
Super Bowl 60, it's game on at last.
I'm Chris Van Cleve at Levi's Stadium, home of Super Bowl 60. The big game is here. The Seahawks, the Patriots, Bad Bunny. A preview coming up.
Polar plunge. New York City colder than Antarctica. Strong winds creating these 20-foot ice mountains on Lake Erie. Millions in the deep freeze, many asking, when will it end? All that, plus Minnesota's Team Peterson. Their Olympic curlers, also sisters and moms, chasing gold and toddlers.
I'm excited for this Olympics for a lot of reasons.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. The Liberal Democratic Party of Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takichi is projected to win a two-thirds majority in Parliament after snap elections. It paves the way for a major change in economic and fiscal policy. The snap election has been seen as a referendum on Takichi's leadership. Thailand's ruling Prime Minister has declared victory in a general election. Populist Conservatives are unlikely to secure an overall majority, but the win will give them the upper hand in coalition negotiations. The Progressive People's Party is projected to come in second. Its leader has conceded defeat. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff has announced his resignation. In a statement, Morgan McSweeney said he took full responsibility for advising Starmer to appoint Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States. Newly released files show Mandelson had close ties to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and may have disclosed state secrets to him. This is DW News from Berlin. For more, you can go to our website at dw.com.
Your first choice for news. Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines this hour. Japan's Prime Minister's gamble at snap election pays off, with her party securing a super I was with foreign nationality. The 78-year-old denies all charges. And Portugal elects a centre-left president. Antonio José Seguro took over 66% of the vote, beating the far-right rival in a runoff round that came after days of devastating storms across the country. Good to have you with us. Also coming up, well, a halftime show that was all in Spanish outrages the US president. Bad Bunny celebrates.
Today, Israeli President Isaac Herzog meets with Sydney's Jewish community at the memorial for the Bondi terror attack.
We are one big family, and when one Jew is hurt, all Jews feel their pain.
While protesters launched a last-ditch legal bid to fight the state government's restrictions during the visit. People in parts of WA's Gascoyne region warned to shelter indoors as Cyclone Mitchell menaces the coast. And Puerto Rican artist Bad Bunny delivers a spectacular halftime Super Bowl performance with millions tuning in to the event. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Catherine Robinson. The Israeli President Isaac Herzog has paid tribute to the victims of the Bondi terror attack, meeting with members of the Jewish community at the beach and laying a wreath at the Bondi Pavilion. He's in Sydney at the start of a 4-day visit to Australia at the invitation of the federal government. Members of the Jewish community say his visit is a source of comfort in the wake of the terror attack in December. The visit has been declared a major event by the New South Wales government, and security is extremely tight. People attending events are being screened by metal detectors, police are in the water, in the air, and snipers are on nearby roofs. The President addressed the crowd at Bondi Pavilion.
In the aftermath of the attack, the people of Australia stood together in grief and solidarity with the Jewish community. The world's only Jewish state, the State of Israel and the nation of Israel, stood together with the Australian people. We stood with Australian Jews, for we are one big family, and when one Jew is hurt, all Jews feel their pain. That is
On this Sunday night, after a 12-year break, NHL players return to the Olympics.
Glad to be here.
With Olympic gold on the line, Sidney Crosby is named Team Canada captain, while the name is spread for two Canadian medal hopefuls facing down injury. Plus, American skier Lindsey Vonn's dream of an Olympic comeback in just 13 seconds. The head of the Washington Post steps down after massive layoffs, leaving some foreign correspondents stranded and
counting for any journalist. He defied the odds we all fought on.
The of its kind, cancer kids saving more than their lives.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Colleen Christie.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The second full day of the Milano Cortina Olympics is wrapping up with plenty of excitement and drama, but a long wait is also ending for hockey fans as NHL players finally return to the games. Members of Canada's men's hockey team arrived in Milan earlier today. Among them, two-time Olympic gold medalist Sidney Crosby, who's been named team captain. Of course, he's
Africa News. The news.
An organization promoting regional economic integration among 6 Central African nations has suspended its activities amid a severe financial crisis. The Commission of the Economic and Monetary Community of Central Africa says almost all projects and missions will pause pending an improvement in the collection of integration taxes. CMAC groups together Cameroon, Gabon, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Central African Republic, and Equatorial Guinea. It says that faced with a financial downturn, member states are retaining the tax levied on imports, its main source of revenue, instead of transferring it to the Commission. CMAC is urging member states to establish an independent mechanism for collecting this tax as a dedicated resource separate from national budgets. Estimates suggest that the Commission collected less than half of the integration tax due last year. The suspension aims to urgently reduce expenditure, including halting administrative meetings and non-essential official missions planned under the 2026 budget. The Commission President says, however, that those activities and missions deemed strategically important will still be allowed to proceed. Experts say the suspension will delay regional infrastructure projects, hinder the free movement of people, and slow the pace of economic growth in Central Africa. A final photo for Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council amid heavy security at the government office in Port-au-Prince on Saturday. The tumultuous governance by the 9-member body, intended to curb the bloody gang conflict and bring about long-delayed elections, came to an end with no succession plan in place. It ruled alongside a US-backed prime minister who's expected to remain in power and will now be solely in charge of the country. The Presidential Council has done its work by paving the way for governance that is mindful of security and electoral issues. The Transitional Council's term was marked by a deterioration in security, corruption accusations, and political infighting. In January, Fils-Aimé survived an attempt by the council to remove him, with members backing down as Washington threatened serious consequences if this were to take place. He now faces the daunting task of organizing the country's first general elections in a decade on his own. Haiti last held polls in 2016 and has been without an elected president since the 2021 assassination of Jovenel Moïse. The United Nations says gangs killed nearly 6,000 people in Haiti last year. About 1.5 million people, or 10% of the population, have been displaced by the violence.
The sun is merciless and the rain has by far not been sufficient. Kenya is suffering from a major drought after the levels of last year's short rains were among the lowest on record. Wide stretches of the country are now concerned by the lack of water. 9 counties in total, including some going beyond the usually drier north, were placed in an alert phase by the authorities. In Mandara County, the government already declared a drought emergency last month. Those most suffering from the situation are herder communities like the Maasai. Their livestock have been decimated, leaving the herders with little income and an uncertain future.
This is Sky News, the headlines. Staunch Beijing critic Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 20 years in prison after being convicted of national security offences in Hong Kong. Morgan McSweeney resigns. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff calls it quits over his role in appointing Peter Mandelson, but does it leave Sir Keir Starmer more exposed?
Morgan McSweeney was the backbone of the Starmer project, and his departure will leave a huge void. But two cabinet ministers told me quite clearly that the Prime Minister simply had no option. Such was the scale of the crisis.
The Japanese Prime Minister secures a stunning landslide victory as her snap election gamble pays off. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of the mother of a US TV host as families say they'll pay for her safe return. And extreme weather kills at least 5 people and forces thousands from their homes in Portugal and Spain. Good morning. The former media tycoon Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 20 years in prison after being convicted of national security offences in Hong Kong. The pro-democracy campaigner and British citizen was found guilty last month of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and of publishing seditious material, charges which he had denied. It's a move criticised by world leaders including Sir Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. In other news, I take full responsibility, the words of the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, as he resigned over his role in appointing Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador despite his links to Jeffrey Epstein. The decision continues to plague the government and is one McSweeney admits damaged the Labour Party, the country and trust in politics. After days of speculation, McSweeney quit yesterday, saying he had reached the decision after careful reflection. He released a statement saying, "When asked, I advise the Prime Minister to make that appointment and I take full responsibility for that advice. In public life, responsibility must be owned when it matters most, not just when it is most convenient. In the circumstances, the only honourable course is to step aside." Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer says it's been an honour working with McSweeney. He turned our party around after one of its worst ever defeats and played a central role running our election campaign. It is largely thanks to his dedication, loyalty.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Keith Liu. At this hour, Japanese stocks surge as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi seals a landslide win with the LDP-led coalition winning a supermajority. Thailand's Boom Jai Thai party gearing up for coalition talks after taking the lead in Sunday's election, with Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul declaring victory. Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai is sentenced to 20 years in prison in the city's most high-profile national security case to date. That's drawn global scrutiny.
All right, joining us now is former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker. Chris, thank you for joining us. There's so much here. I think off the top here, let's ask about the video last night. You can throw it up against some of the stuff we've learned today, but what's your response to that video last night?
Right. I think they're playing this out. This is about all they have right now, and they are, they're making it very clear that they they will pay. The question really is, and I'm very skeptical of this, is this really a kidnapping? Does somebody really have her, and is she really alive? And I don't think we have the answers to that question right now. I don't think her proof of life has been credibly authenticated at this point. So I think, you see them searching other places. You see them searching in the backyard there at that so-called manhole. They're still rounding out the investigation, and so I think they're giving some leeway for some possibility that this is not a kidnapping. And as I said, I'm very skeptical that it is one in the first place.
Chris, I want to go off of that. If not a kidnapping, then what do you think this could possibly be? Obviously, we're all just speculating. None of us have all of the answers. But, my ears did perk up when you said that this could potentially not be a kidnapping. Can you please explain further what you mean by that?
Well, if this was a kidnapping, it would be a very simple matter to authenticate and provide proof of life. Asking her a question that only she would know the answer to, or asking her to provide some information that only she would know. And the fact that the family hasn't paid the ransom at this point tells me that they're not to that point where they think this is a credible authentication, that they've had credible authenticators. So it could have been a home invasion that went bad. She's an 84-year-old woman living by herself out in the desert, no lights, maybe appear to be wealthy. So a lot of people come and go there. She's not doing her own lawn or taking care of her yard. She's not taking care of her pool. Somebody else does that. Repair people, delivery people. So there, we don't know, but it to me that you have to allow for the possibility that this was something more or something other than a kidnapping.
Chris.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.